July 11th. Isn't it great to meet like this? Grab a coffee and let's get smarter together. I teased a connection between the microtubules and consciousness yesterday. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to yesterday. And why not dive into this mess? And the best place to start is probably with a British mathematician and physicist Sir Roger Penrose. He also won a Nobel Prize for physics because mathematicians don't get a Nobel Prize because Nobel's wife went off with a mathematician. But that's just as an aside. Very early on in his distinguished career, Sir Roger Penrose, he was not the mathematician's Nobel's wife went off with, had gotten it into his head that consciousness can't be explained with computable processes. It has to do with Gödel's theorem that in any reasonable mathematical system, there will always be true statements that can't be proven. He thinks that it's our understanding of what the rules are saying that enables us to transcend them. In other words, our consciousness is exactly that which can't be proven. Hence, there needs to be an incomputable element in what our brain does. And he ended up on the collapse of a wave function, the point where the quantum distribution of possibilities collapses to one actuality or the wave becomes a particle. I must admit, I don't share Penrose's view on what actually happens in this moment. And it has to do with perspective, like with so many things. Let's revisit Schrödinger and his cat. Schrödinger developed the thought experiment because he wanted to point out a flaw of the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum physics once the found rules are transferred from particles, atoms, and molecules onto things made from particles, atoms, and molecules, like cats. How could a cat really be dead and alive at the same time? We know from experience that this is, and I use a technical term here, bonkers. But that's because we fall once more into this main trap that humans today do so often. We turn us into an exception, an outside observer and judge. Things happen to the cat. But we are a constant, one unchanging, untouchable entity, the crown jewels of God's creation. After almost 3,000 years of embedding this propaganda into every corner of our existence, this understanding is so deeply embedded in our core that even non-believers can't easily step out of this perspective. While the solution is far more straightforward. We are just as much inside the wave function like the cat or everything else around us. We are a part of it and thus just as affected by its torrents as the cat is. The energy pattern that the cat is split and the parts are altered in all the different ways possible at this point. And so is the energy pattern that's us. We now exist in as many different versions as the cat. The quantum distribution of possibilities never collapses to one actuality, but the part of the energy field we associate with after the split, we as the person still thinking, only exists in one actuality, while there are other versions of us that live the other actualities, who shared our memories up to this one point, but now not anymore. We changed. We changed like into all the possibilities. And I said it. Yes, we change. While Penrose and I differ in this important point, I see a way how consciousness is connected with our perception that the wave functions seem to collapse. Because there are innumerable particular energy patterns around us that constantly meet points where they will split and where parts will be altered into all the possible ways. How does make Schrödinger sure that he sticks with his cat through the split? and is split with a cat. So he can be all the versions that will see the cat dead and alive. The quantum link, when both are still in superposition, and that's what our consciousness might be an expression of. This superposition, the feeling of possibility that when is realized, but we are not going all the way down with it as a single person. Both ideas only make sense when you have a quantum effect that survives in a biological structure for some length of time. And the new study out of the quantum biology lab of Howard University proves a quantum effect in microtubuli made of tryptophan molecules as they can be found in cells. Still, the consciousness link is speculation. But we can use noble gases like xenon as an anesthetic. It will knock consciousness right out of us. Now, you might remember that noble gases have 8 electrons on their valence shell and will therefore never react with another atom. So how does xenon work as an anesthetic when it doesn't do any chemical reactions? Well, while xenon doesn't react chemically, it facilitates electron transfer, or even more precisely, it interferes with the spin state of electrons. Now, it happens that oxygen can only form covalent bonds with atoms whose electrons are in an opposite spin state. In cells, it needs to bond with 2 hydrogen atoms to provide energy to the cell. Passing through the tryptophan of the microtubuli skeleton usually should get everyone into the right state to bond. But at xenon, which renders the electrons back into random states, at least some of them, the energy yield goes down by 20%. Is it just that what knocks our consciousness out? Or does the xenon not just mess with the spin state of oxygen and hydrogen, but with a makeup of a crystal-like structure of tryptophan molecules enough that the quantum effect is limited or erased? I promised you a mess, but it is a very intriguing mess. Explore, as an honest think. Make a habit out of thinking. Let's turn thinking into the norm again. Like, comment, share, and follow lest you miss a single opportunity to improve yourself and society. Once you do, we'll meet again at the coffee pot.